Morning, ladies. I hope that you're all very well. I wanted to make a video today because Rochelle, I'm guessing is your name, Rachel. Forgive me if it's that. But anyway, we were having a conversation, a lengthy conversation underneath that question. Has anyone traveled in Switzerland? Or no. Actually, the question was about sex during travel. That was the one. And so we were having this conversation under what do you do as you travel? Do you have sex, whatever? And it was a really fun conversation, and it came down to me talking about how I love traveling with my man. It's the best thing ever because the connection is there, it's lit, it's on fire. And I also said that, maybe my experience is a little bit special because we have a spiritual connection, and that comment just got the ball rolling on all the other comments, which was really great because I talked about how my connection with him didn't really come down to him at all. I think someone commented when I said our connection is spiritual, they said, let me know how you got that because I'm looking and I haven't found. And I said, you know what? Actually, it doesn't really have a lot to do with the guy himself. It has to do with me and how I took the spiritual journey towards self-awareness, towards being completely comfortable with myself, towards loving myself madly, deeply, truly. And so that sparked all kinds of conversations, which I just absolutely love. So thank you to everyone who contributed to that conversation. But it sparked this conversation that I really love to have with women in general, but especially Black women, because I feel like in our music, in our media, in our movies, we are so much fed this unhealthy Black love narrative that it makes us come to expect that out of life, the struggle, the strife, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, like there's plenty of good Black love, and luckily that's being put in media today. But I wanted to talk about how I came to a place of self-awareness, self-love, which has had a domino effect in my life in terms of transforming all of my relationships, terminating other relationships that are unhealthy, and really attracting abundance and love and happiness in my life because it is so powerful. I just can't believe I was so asleep for this whole portion of my life, this whole other portion of my life, that I want to make sure I stay awake for the rest of my life, and then I want to bring as many people along with me as I possibly can. So watch this until the end, please, because it is so critically, crucially important in every relationship you have. It's improved my romantic relationship. It's improved vastly the relationship with my mother. It's improved dramatically the relationship with my kids. It's dramatically improved the relationship with me and the world in general outside of me because the inside of me is whole. So I want to let you know how I got started on my self-awareness journey, number one. Number two, how that changed the way I viewed relationships. And number three, some examples of how that has changed other relationships in my life. So, are you ready? Got your coffee? I got mine. Actually, I really do have coffee. Ooh, good. So, my self-awareness journey started with my divorce. So many people talk poorly about divorce, but I think that many more of us need it because we don't get into relationships for the right reason in the first place. So I knew I wanted to get divorced from my ex-husband here in Switzerland, and I saw some patterns that had also developed in this relationship that I had seen in other relationships. And I said, you know what? I need to just go ahead and go somewhere and be by myself, learn about myself, discover, why I'm seeing the same results. Even though I find myself to be such a great, loving, happy person, why am I seeing results that don't reflect how I feel inside, on the outside? And so I went from Switzerland to visit California, and I decided, you know what, I have to get an apartment out here again because I've been living between the two, Switzerland and California, for a long time. When I had my kids, I gave up my apartment, and then I said, I just have to get back to this place. I need to get my own space, have my thoughts like loud and clear for myself in my own space. So I got an apartment in Beverly Hills, I used it as like a therapeutic process, artistic process. So I got my apartment in Beverly Hills, went like balls to the wall, decorating it, painted the walls, painted the ceilings, went, secondhand shopping, all this stuff. And it was the most magical place. And when I walked into that apartment every single time for a year and a half, or a little bit more actually, every single time I walked in that place, it just felt like the spirit of freedom and hope. And it was a transformation for me to make that apartment my own, because I walked in there, bare white walls, nothing special. And when I made it over, I'll show you some pictures. But when I made it over, it just felt so much like me and so much like mine. And so in that space, as I went to Beverly Hills, California to take some time for myself and relax away from my family in Switzerland, I just was able to really take time to be by myself and enjoy being by myself, right? And in that way, I was in contact with a friend. And by the way, this was a friend who had randomly contacted me because she was coming to Switzerland from New York. We didn't know each other at all. She had read an interview that I'd done on this platform called Hot Chocolate, and it's about Black female travelers. But she had read this interview that I'd done. She contacted me out of nowhere through my cake page and was like, "Hey, I know you don't know me. I know this is super weird, but I'm coming to Switzerland. I'm thinking about moving there. I love your interview about your experience in Switzerland. Can we sit down and have a talk?" We sat down, had a talk. It was wonderful. Fast forward like 5 years later, and I'm going to New York, visiting her every single time I go there, and we had this really strong connection. Well, as I went back to California, jumping back to the story, as I went back to California to have time alone and really like be in my element and just understand myself, my friend from New York said, "Hey, I have a friend out there in LA and you should connect with her. I'm sure she would be a really great friend." And so I connected with her, and it was one of the best connections I've ever had. And her friends ended up being this support group, my tribe, that I didn't even know I was missing up until that point. My friends that I had before that, they were nice friends, but they had known me from a long time ago, and they held me to being that person that I was and didn't allow me a whole lot of space to progress into the person I wanted to be. And so when I met this group of fabulous women who were about 5 years older than me, they allowed me to speak and not be judged. They allowed me to express myself fully, and they allowed me to be proud of myself and shine without trying to stifle my pride and without trying to beat me down in disguised by jokes. They really celebrated me for who I am and pushed me to be more of that. And so, going out to California led me to this group of fabulous women, and then they introduced me to several books that I read that really introduced me to more of myself. And it was beautiful. So Psycho-Cybernetics was one of the books. You Were Born Rich was another one of the books. Women Who Run with Wolves, another one of the books. And those books led me to a whole host of other books, like You Are the Placebo, like What I Know for Sure by Oprah, like some other books by, I'll get you guys a list of books. But anyway, so it led me to reading all of these books and led me to also meditate. And so I started meditating and praying a lot, getting closer to God, because before, when I met my ex-husband, he did not believe in God. And he thought, the Bible is just a bunch of fables. It's nonsense. It's like, I can't even believe people believe in that stuff. And at that time, I was really conflicted with who I was as a person. And since he had come from a background that I aspired to be in, since his family represented something that I longed to have or be, I deferred to what I thought was the success personality, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you guys? I just fell into doing whatever he did and living however they left, because I thought, if I want to be successful and I want to be wealthy and I want to be like these rich people, then I got to be like them, right? And so with that came throwing my religion out of the window, which, by the way, I was never very secure in before, because I came from a Pentecostal background and they were so strict, and I couldn't get on board with that. And with you should be poor, and meanwhile the pastors drive in a Mercedes, all that kind of stuff. I never really had faith for myself, and my whole relationship with my ex, it it shows you what happens when you test God. Don't try God. He will show you, okay? He'll let you not believe, and then he'll bring you around and show you why you should. So anyway, I got back to praying and reading the Bible and everything, and I rediscovered my faith, and it was just amazing, the transformation that was happening in my life. Now, I made a video about Argentina a couple of days, or yesterday, I think, yeah, yesterday. And I talked about how I specifically chose to move to Argentina because it was a place that allowed me to go there, completely disconnect from the world, and really delve deeper into discovering and meeting myself and understanding myself. And so I literally would go to my apartment in Argentina, turn off my phone, let it run out of battery. I would sleep for a whole day, sometime a day and a half. I would go to a bodega, have a lunch, and then I would go back home and pray, and I would really meditate and focus on being in the present. And through just that practice, I got to really hear myself. I got to really be honest with myself. I got to say, you know what? I believe in X, Y, and Z, and no one needs to accept that for that to be my truth. And so I really just had a lot of conversations with myself, and I also was speaking with friends. And as I went back and forth, I remember one day I made a really pivotal, important decision. And it was after listening to a Childish Gambino song. I want to say it was a camp album, yeah. So at the end of his album, he talks about how he was at camp and he had a crush on a girl. They hung out during the whole camp experience, and at the end, on the ride back in the bus, he was like, okay, she's from another neighborhood, I'm from a different neighborhood. I gotta tell her that I like her now, because if I don't, I will never have another opportunity to do this again. And he mustered up the courage to tell her that he liked her, and she was just like, okay. And he was just like, okay. And so he fell asleep, and when he woke up, she had left from the seat. And he said that, her three mean friends from the back of the bus walked by him giggling, walking very deliberately and slowly, and pointed at him, laughed, and said, destiny, it's your destiny to be with her, okay. And he has this little monologue at the end. He says, that was just for me and you, referring to the girl. That information was just for me and you. It wasn't for everybody. Why would you go and share that with everyone? And, why did you feel that they were privy to that? And he said he learned something from that experience, that, if you just share everything with the world, you don't have to worry about people coming up to you and sharing what everyone already knows. Everyone knows. It's nothing special. I listened to that part of the album many times, and I want to cry right now, because it really brought a truth near and dear to my heart that I carry to this day, that when you're living in secret, when you're trying to put up a brave face and show everyone the version of you that you want them to see, rather than being honest and open with the world, then you always live in a sense of fear, right? Like when you pick and choose what you want people to know, then you're always going to have this issue with, not being able to be the fullest version of yourself. And I realized after listening to that album so many times that that's what I essentially had done. I was, in my marriage, putting up a brave face, putting on a show, and putting a version of myself out to the world that wasn't true. And that was my responsibility. Like, I did that. I can't blame anyone else for that. And so I remember listening to that album and making a very pivotal, important decision that, you know what? My story is not just for me. My story is to be shared with the world, because you never know how you're going to positively influence people with your story. And God gives you your experiences and your story for a reason. And he says to let your light shine, right? And so I'm just like, you know what? When I'm out here traveling, when I'm out here talking to friends and family or whatever, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to try to make it into something that it's not. I'm going to just go ahead and live my truth 100%. And I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to back down because maybe some people might feel uncomfortable with that. And so I took on that responsibility to live my truth because that is the only way that I can fully be relaxed and happy. And so I started talking to a lot of people with just real brutal candor. And I remember one of those people was my friend. And we talked about a personal situation, and I was very, very honest and transparent with him about that. And it was a really important moment for him. And I was like, wow, he was thanking me for being so honest and transparent. And I thought, it's just my story. And he's like, yeah, but people wouldn't tell me that usually. And I'm like, yeah. So then I started doing it more. And I talked to a gentleman on one of my flights. Actually, a few of my flights I did this. But I was talking to him, and basically he was studying to be a doctor, but didn't want to be a doctor, wanted to be a programmer, a computer programmer. But his mom didn't want that. And I said, listen, this is my story. Told my whole story. And then I told him, you have to live for you, because at the end of the day, no one has to live in your shoes but you. Therefore, your first allegiance and responsibility is to yourself. First, beyond your parents, beyond your kids, beyond anyone else, you have to take care of you first. First, second, and third, and first, in fact. And so he actually started crying, and he was so apologetic, like, I'm so sorry, but I'm just like, no, I totally understand. And this whole crying situation I've had on a very regular basis as I share my story with people. And I almost feel like, in a sense, through my honesty and transparency, I let people release a lot of the secrets and falsehoods that they've been keeping inside of them. And so when people start crying when I talk to them, I just feel like I feel so happy, and I feel so good for them. I feel so proud of them. I feel so relieved for them, because I know what it's like to hide things inside of yourself for the sake of putting up a front and an image that people will embrace more easily than your truth might be. And so through sharing my truth, it really enabled me to understand how important that truth is, right? And so there was a period of time where I was kind of like dating around, and I didn't want anything serious. I was not the least bit interested in having a relationship at all. I was like, my most important relationship is with myself. So I'm gonna ride this whole single thing until the wheels fall off. Like, I could care less about a guy. It's all about Dansoise right now, and if something comes along, great, but I'm not even thinking about that as a goal, because I don't need a man. I have kids, I've been married, I've done it. This is where it's at. So so I wasn't really dating, and I remember, if you look at the Argentina story in some of my videos, you'll see that I met my boyfriend on Tinder, and it was in the midst of a really horrible time, like the most horrible 3 days I've ever had in my life, almost. And I just went on Tinder, not even to hook up with anybody, not to find anyone. I just wanted to chat with people who I didn't know. And that was more the reason why I went on there at that time. And I ended up meeting my boyfriend, and we ended up spending 2 amazing weeks together on that trip of, when I was going to Argentina. And the most beautiful thing happened when we were deciding to date, and we were deciding that we were going to give this whole romantic thing a shot. I told him very clearly, my number one priority is being true to myself, because anytime I am selling you a story or selling you someone that I am not, I am lying to myself, and I refuse for 1 second in my life to lie to myself anymore. I tried that for like 12 years, with my last relationship. I tried it for 12 years, didn't work out. I'm happy it didn't work out because I learned a lot from it, but I refuse to, I refuse to compromise in any situation where I'm not happily compromising. I refuse to buy into anything that you might want to sell that is not true to who I am. And, in this relationship, it's important that I am true to myself and that you are true to you. I'm not here to read your mind. I'm not here to try to decipher how you feel. I'm going to be true to me. You can be true to you, and we meet in the middle. And that was the truth for me. And so as I explored that relationship with full honesty, full candor, and really just saying, if this works out, great. But if it doesn't work out with me being who I am, it wasn't meant to be. As I explored that, I also realized, this is how I have to be in every single relationship, not just with my man, but also with my parents, also with my kids. And so when it came to my kids, I've been divorced for less than a year now. It officially happened May of last year, May of 2019. I was trying to put up a brave face in front of my kids. I was trying to give them the easiest transition from, having two parents in the household to splitting their time between the two. I tried to give them the easiest time ever. And I remember going to my friend Sharon in the French part of Switzerland, and she told me, because I was on the phone with them, talking to them, and I was like laughing or whatever, and she said, "Don't do that." I was like, "Excuse me?" She was like, "Don't do that." She says, "You need to let your kids see you vulnerable. If you miss them, let you miss them. If if you're feeling emotional around them, don't suck it up and fight back tears. Let them see you be a person, because they need to know that you're a person. They need to know that it's okay for them also to be a person." And she said, just really, be mindful of what you say, but really just in every way possible, be honest with them. Because at the end of the day, it's really going to help them process everything much more than you putting up a facade. And she had separated from her husband, and she said, I did that too. I led my kids to believe things were going a certain way, and it just wasn't. And I wish I was more honest with them at the beginning. That's what being a good parent is. And so, I had been with my boyfriend for about October, May, June, July. So like 3 months, I said. I had been with my boyfriend 3 months, and I had just visited. He came with me to Spain. We parted ways, and then I took my kids to Greece. And it was a financial stretch for me because, I didn't know what I was going to do professionally after I had given up my bakery indefinitely until I got myself together. I chose, okay, we're going to go to Greece. We're going to do it on a budget, but we're going to have a great time. But I was still trying to give them some accessible luxuries, because they're used to a certain lifestyle. And so we went there, and my kids are so honest. I guess all kids are so honest. But we went to the hotel, the first hotel in Athens, and they were like, "Mom, this is small." They just got back from a vacation with their father at a Kinderhotel, which is like a family hotel. And they had a big, huge apartment to themselves with multiple rooms, and the whole area of the hotel was nice and big and everything. And then they come with me to Greece, and they get in this little room, right? And they're like, "This is small. We had so much more in the Kinderhotel." And I was like, "Yeah, but we're just going to be here for a couple days, and then we're going to go to the island." We went to Crete, and so I was just like, not a big deal. No, they'll get over it. So I remember they got on the phone with their dad, and they were telling their dad, "Dad, it's so small here. Like, we haven't been outside all day," and they were just complaining. And I was just like, okay, first of all, it's like 40 degrees outside, so I was planning to take them outside at night when it was cooler, so we can have a night exploration. But I bought them toys so they can play during the day. And second of all, we're only going to be in that hotel for a couple of days, and I just thought, wow, like I'm stretching myself and they're not even showing this teeniest bit of appreciation. Like, what's that about? So I got on the phone with my boyfriend and I told him that, and he was like, don't worry about it, they're just kids. So then we went to Crete and we went to another place. I actually ended up going to a different place than what I originally had booked, just for a couple days so that we can have a better place, right? And so they enjoyed that because it was bigger and better. But then we went to the next place, which was not the best ever, and they're complaining again. And I remember telling them, because I talked to my boyfriend basically, and he was like, you know what? I am not rich either, and I have similar issues with my ex, where she has more access to resources than I do. But he said, material things are not what counts. Material things are not what the kids will remember. It is the love, the real love, spending time with them, spending your energy with them, showing them new things, having fun with them, being with them. That is what they will really remember. And I was so grateful for him talking me down from, being so exhausted and frustrated, whatever. Because I thought back to what my friend had said, and I said, she was totally right. I'm putting up this facade, trying to make my kids believe that I'm okay. Essentially competing with my ex to see who can show our kids the better time. And for what? So I can be struggling and broke and them not even enjoy it at the end. And so I listened to my boyfriend, and I went to them after that conversation I had with him, and I said, listen, you guys, I brought you here so that we can have fun. I brought you here so we can experience something different and new. And I understand that I don't have what your dad has. I understand that I don't have what your dad has, but I love you, and I want to spend time with you and enjoy you. And I'm hoping that you will see that I'm trying everything in my power to help you guys have a good time. And if I can do anything better, please tell me how I can help you have more fun with me. Please tell me what you're missing. And through that, we're going to have a wonderful life together. We're going to rebuild together, and it's going to be fabulous. And the relief I felt from being honest with my kids was immense. It was life-changing, because after that we had several other conversations that were just purely honest, and I bared my heart and soul to them, and they see not only that I'm trying, but that I understand them. They feel like I'm approachable. They feel like I can talk to them, or they can talk to me. And it has completely changed our relationship in a way that I could have never seen coming. And now with my kids, I have the most beautiful relationship where I'm constantly updating them on what I'm doing new and different to progress in my life. I'm updating them on what I'm doing to spend my money more wisely. I'm updating them on what I'm doing to be more present in the moment. And when I'm with them, it's not because I have to be with them. It's not because I have to watch over them. When I'm with them, I'm actually living experiences with them. And let me explain that too. When I was in my unhappy relationship, I would often be with my kids and be like, oh, I'm going to the zoo because I have to, because the kids want to go, so let's go. Once I started being honest with my kids and enjoying the moment and being there present with them, not just for them, but with them, it changed our experience so much. So I remember going to the zoo with them not too long ago. And we went to the zoo, and typically when I had been there before, it was like, okay, here we go. This is going to be like 3-4 hours of showing them around or whatever, and it's going to be a tedious experience. But I went to the zoo, and I was just as happy to be there as they were. I remember skipping with them. I remember saying, oh, let's go see this animal. Let's go here. I felt like a kid myself, because I didn't have the burden of trying to be something that I wasn't, or feel something I didn't want to feel. I through living honestly, I've been able to release a whole lot of burden and energy that has brought down my life and really channel that into enjoying every single ounce of every moment to the fullest. And I feel so grateful for that revelation. And so now my relationship with my kids has fundamentally changed. And with my mother, I made a video some time ago talking about how when I grew up, I didn't have a great relationship with my mom. Well, as I began to be honest with myself and understand that, I am in control of all of my choices, which includes how I perceive the outside world, it made me realize that that same truth is true for everyone. So how you interpret a situation, how you handle a situation comes down to you 100%. And through that realization, I realized the discretions that I experienced with my mom, the lack of attention, the lack of love, all those kind of things. I was able to understand that that had nothing to do with me, actually. That had everything to do with her journey. And I realized that, no one wants to be bad, including my mom. And I understood that her intentions were actually good. She just didn't know another way. And through examining my inner self and understanding, the general truth that everyone is, doing the best they can to live the best life they want, I realized, I have to forgive my mom because she did the best she knew how to do with what she had, and she couldn't have done anything else. I'm a different person, so the way I parent is going to be naturally different. I've had different experiences, I've had different resources. Of course, we have different opinions. And so when I went to talk to my mom, we just had like a come to Jesus moment, and now that I went to her with an open mind and an open heart, I didn't speak to her in an accusatory way. I wasn't like, you did this and you did that and you need to apologize or whatever. I had already forgiven her. So whatever she was going to say wasn't going to affect how our conversation was going to go in terms of when we kind of had to sit down and talk through life and whatever. And through that conversation where I had already forgiven her, we were able to understand that we had a lot of miscommunication when I was growing up. She thought things were clear and obvious and true that were not apparent to me until today. And it was really interesting to kind of, without accusing each other, without being hostile or angry, we were able to really understand each other's perspective and then come to a place where we said, we love each other. You're my mom, you're my daughter. We want the best for each other, and we can't start from back, 30 years ago. We can start from today, and we can have a beautiful relationship from today. And, that conversation had everything to do with me soul searching and being comfortable with myself, but also credit to my mom for her, getting closer to God, and also realizing that, hey, I can't let my pride get in the way of the relationship I'm going to have with my daughter for the rest of my life. And so as two adults who had done a lot of soul searching, we were able to come together and really hash things out and come to a place of pure love and understand that we both want the same things. We want family, we want love, we want togetherness, and we're going to work on it in every way possible to move forward in that way. And now we have a beautiful relationship for the last couple of years, which has been incredible. And if you ask any one of my friends, they would tell you that that is the most impossible transformation, the most impossible change that they never expected to happen. And so in terms of my self-awareness journey, I think to sum it all up, number one, it got started with me saying, I don't like my life the way it is, and there's got to be a better way. And just by understanding that the life I had wasn't what I wanted and that there is a better way, that opened me up to allowing in the resources, the people, the places, the experiences that allowed me to change. There's not like a really clear 1 to 10 guide that you can follow in a straight path. There's no straight paths in life. But everything was a process of me saying, I want peace, I want love, I want happiness in my life. And knowing that it exists, I just keep moving in that direction, right? So it started off with recognizing the problem and wanting more. And then it also continued by me staying true to that goal, or staying committed to that goal, that I want peace and I will have it, and not letting anything get in the way. So when I say anything get in the way, there are so many people out there who like to complain all the time, who like to look at the negativity, who like to, talk down about people or things. And the thing is, it's so prevalent out there that it's kind of hard to change your mind and go into a different direction. But when you commit to being self-aware, learning about yourself, and really being in a place of peace, then those people won't even want to come around you, because you won't allow that kind of conversation to go on. You won't indulge in it. And that was one of the bigger challenges I had to face when it came to making my transformation, really stepping away from the nonsense. And that meant, for example, not watching Wendy Williams. That meant not watching The Real Housewives. Now I'm like, why would somebody watch that? Like, why would I watch that? Not watching The Real Housewives. Not watching a lot of news. I don't watch news. Any information that I need to know, I read from my chosen sources, but I don't watch the news because it's a bunch of fear mongering. That means not watching late night TV where they have monologues about, politics and news, and it's putting all of that kind of negativity in a humorous way, but it's still the same thing. It's still the same end. It meant choosing in every single situation to see the positive. And that's something I also learned from my dad, actually. He's really great at that. But choosing no matter what to say, okay, this situation is actually working out for me because life is working out for me. So if we want to break that down, lastly, that last point, and break it down to what's going on now with the coronavirus, when it first started out, I thought I was going to be back in Argentina in a couple of weeks, and I'm like, whatever, But now that it's looking like July, August out there, I had to do a lot of decision making. I had to be very deliberate in how I saw things. And luckily, I have the most wonderful boyfriend who sits with me and talks with me, and we figure things out together about how we're going to work through it and how we're going to come out better than we even entered the situation. And through having a really wonderful partner who shares the same values as me, who is determined to be positive, successful, and in peace, we've been able to just continuously build each other up and help each other get through this process. And through that, we have a whole lot of things that we're working on that are leading us in that direction. And now, I'm more occupied than I have been a lot of times outside of this coronavirus situation. And so really, you can choose how you view the situation. So I see a lot of people out there saying, I can't wait for this to be over, sitting back, twiddling their thumbs, binge watching TV, and just waiting for things to be done with and over with and things get back to normal. Meanwhile, there are a lot of people, I am one of them, there are a lot of people who are taking this as an advantage. Like, how many times have you said, oh, I wish I didn't have so much to do, I wish I wasn't so busy, I get tired of running around being, busy all the time in traffic and doing this, that, and the third. Like, this moment is a blessing. You get to sleep, you get to enjoy your life, you get to take a much needed break to self-reflect and work on yourself and work on, so many things that you probably have put off for a long time. So for me, I decided to learn Arabic. I've been learning for, I guess, going on 3 weeks now, and love it with Duolingo. I've been going through a lot of books. I finished already 3 books, I think. Yeah, 3 books, going on 4 books so far in the last couple of weeks. I've been watching a lot of shows and YouTube channels, getting my whole financial situation and the mindset behind the finance really in order, because that is really a building block behind success. You can make a lot of money but not save it. And if you know the strategy towards saving and creating a life that is enjoyable and not money focused, then you need to have those skills. And I've been delving into learning and educating myself on finance. I'm preparing my taxes. Because I have taxes for the U.S. and Switzerland. I'm looking at opportunities for the recession because that's coming up too, which could be a 3-year process. So I'm looking at recession opportunities. I'm cleaning, I'm cooking, I'm communicating with different brands for my other business. I'm meditating a lot, I'm sleeping, I'm communicating with people. There are so many things that you can do in this time to not just waste it and squander the opportunity that we have here. You can appreciate that God, is bringing out the humanity in people and making this a beautiful experience. Of course, there's another side to it, and I understand that. But for the people who are just waiting and complaining and just taking it as an opportunity to, not really come forward in their life, it's your choice. It is your choice. So choose happiness, choose peace, and all of that starts within yourself. So I hope that this has been an informative video for you. I hope that you have enjoyed my personal story. I'll be making more. But until then, go check out my page, thesoundofmyownvoice.com. And I also created a Facebook page that you can go like The Sound of My Own Voice. And there I'm going to be sharing personal stories about everything in life and how I have discovered my own voice in certain situations, and I have used that to live a more beautiful life. So I hope that you're enjoying this. I hope that you have a fabulous day, and much love to you guys. Bye.